All right, guys. So I'm joined today with marathon legend Phil Sesemann. Some of you guys might have seen that he recently ran 2:07 at the Amsterdam Marathon and then backed it up again at Valencia, where he ran 2:07 again. And he was doing a lot of his training in the build up with Alex Yee. Awesome YouTube series from both of you guys. Phil's got his own series on YouTube where he documents a lot of the sessions, and Alex has had him feature on his YouTube as well. And it was awesome to see your journey, Phil. Like, some of the sessions that you guys were doing were amazing, to be honest, and you made it look so easy running at 3-minute kilometre pace. How you doing anyway, mate?
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on, Joe. I appreciate it. No, I'm doing good. We are 10 days post Valencia Marathon now, so I have had quite an easy week. I've just chilled out and yeah, starting to get the itch to start training properly again and do some planning for next year.
Just before we go into a bit about how you got into running and everything, one of the questions I had about Valencia was, do you think that that doing the Amsterdam Marathon impacted Valencia or not? Like, did you feel better in Amsterdam, like from a physical point of view, or did you feel just as good in Valencia?
Yeah, definitely for me, Amsterdam, I felt amazing. It was like a really special day for me. I do think I'm someone who does well in cold temperatures, and even if it's just a little bit warmer, that affects me maybe more than others. So I definitely kind of Amsterdam just felt great. And also just going off a little bit slower, kind of 30 seconds slower at halfway does, like everyone knows, does make a big difference. Especially when like my half marathon time is all right, but it's not really quick. So I haven't got this huge margin of error to play with. So yeah, I think Valencia just didn't feel quite as good. Definitely had kind of varying sensations through the race. So to be honest, it made it quite unenjoyable. And yeah, a lot more of a battle to kind of get through and kind of still get a good performance out.
Is Amsterdam then, would you say, course wise, like if the weather was the same, is it about the same speed as Valencia, or do you think it is a little bit slower? Like, or is it like Valencia is just fast because there's so much depth almost that like everyone finds themselves in a group and that really helps?
Yeah, that's quite difficult to say just because of how I felt. But I genuinely thought that the Amsterdam course was great. I wasn't running along there thinking like this is annoying me. There's too many turns. I don't like this. Um, I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting out of the city for like a big chunk. There's about 6K out, 6K back along the Amstel River, and I really enjoyed doing that. Just because I do find out these big city marathons, they can be like slightly kind of suffocating when you're just kind of constantly with big crowds, big buildings, everything kind of looks the same. Especially at say Valencia, there's no real kind of landmarks along the course. So for me, I thought it was just as fast. To be honest, I didn't look at that and think you're at a disadvantage running in Amsterdam at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting because that was one question that I just had to ask, and I thought, because so fresh, I just wondered because a lot of triathletes would do, like when they do Ironmans, would do two like fairly close succession, like 3 or 4 weeks, and quite often you'd have your better race in the second one than the first. But you don't. It's very rare that you actually see top marathoners do races quite close together, and I always wondered why. I don't know. Maybe that's because the run in a marathon, like especially when you do it like just by yourself, I think it really does take a lot more out of your legs. Whereas in the Ironman, it's like you kind of just run in like tempo, but you just pretty smashed just from being on the bike and swimming for quite a long period of time. So your legs, I don't think, are probably as beaten up as what they are if you do like a flat out marathon, like especially at the pace that you guys are running, where you're running like 3-minute K pace for a couple of hours. Um, where, Going back to the start, when you first got into running, how did that come about? Because I heard that you were, well, I heard actually down through the grapevine that you were into triathlon at the start.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know if that's true or not.
I was originally a swimmer at a very young age, and then that kind of meant I'd jump into the odd school's cross country race, and I had this pretty well developed aerobic system, so I would run fairly well and kind of win primary school cross country races before kind of joining up with a club in my secondary school years. And then kind of through those years, it was very much I would running was the thing that I enjoyed the most. But every time I focused on the running and did less swimming, I would run quite poorly. I think just because of the lack of aerobic training and just not doing high training volumes. And then every time I went back into taking swimming a little bit more seriously, the running would go well again. And I would start to think, oh, I really prefer the running and I need to kind of prioritize that again. And then I kind of got up to medical school in Leeds, gave myself the first year just to enjoy it, go on ski trips, go on holidays, not really spend much time kind of training, and definitely kind of had my focus on enjoying myself before saying to myself, okay, second year, you're in Leeds, you like cycling, you were a good swimmer, you're a decent runner, let's give triathlon a go. And I gave it a year's attempt in the triathlon squads at the University of Leeds.
What year was this? Just before you carry on, like, what was this? Is this like 2016-ish, something like that?
No, I'm older than you think. That was 2012.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you training with Alistair then? Like, were you doing a bit with him and Johnny then when they were in the lead up?
No, they were very much in like their own kind of squad in Leeds, and the odd time I'll be in the pool at the same time, but I was in like the Bucks, the university squad.
All right.
And they were in like the kind of professional setup. There would be kind of Georgia Taylor Brown, Lois Rosendale, yeah, Gordon Benson, like kind of these athletes, non-Stanford. And I was kind of sometimes I would swim in the same group, but I was usually like the group below that, and I was training running wise. Rich Anderson, Bo Smith, Liam Lloyd. Liam had been kind of at the Commonwealth Games a couple of times for Wales, and just did a year of it, and really struggled with the cycling. I found that very, very tough. Basically, just because I was kind of second year medical degree, kind of quite a lot of contact hours. There's very few times in the week where you could get out and do a substantial ride. So you
Yeah.
had no flexibility when it came to the weather. And I just really found that quite
So if it
tiresome.
was terrible conditions and you had a 3-hour ride, you'd be like, I've got to kind of put up with it and crack on. And there was nothing you could do. It was either get it done or miss out.
Yeah, effectively, that was the case. And yeah, I did struggle with that. And obviously, not being as good on the bike, it wasn't quite as enjoyable. And not being like experienced on the bike, like I didn't really know how to look after a bike, how to do the mechanics myself. I didn't have a good bike. So it just didn't make the riding that fun. And then
Yeah.
obviously with all that aerobic training, where my talents lie was with the running, and the running would then start going well because of all that aerobic training again. So yeah, it was quite an easy decision to then say, no, my full focus now is on running again.
What kind of times were you knocking like in for the running then around like at the end of that year where you'd been doing like triathlon training?
I ran 14:27 for 5K.
That's miles before carbon shoes as well, isn't it? So that's like
Yeah,
probably like close to like 14, isn't it? Or 14:10, with the shoes what you got now, isn't it?
potentially, yeah, somewhere around there. That was on the track, at like a
Yeah.
BMC, and that was quite a surprise, yeah, to run quite as well as that. I was quite proud of that one. And I think that was the year I was an under 23, so I was like sixth at the under 23 champs, beating some guys who'd kind of been making GB teams in previous years and stuff. So yeah, I kind of really saw like I had talent at running, and I definitely wanted to kind of really go for that. And it gave me quite a lot of kind of motivation to kind of really give that my kind of full efforts afterwards.
So after that, were you then training for like 5Ks, 10Ks and all that kind of thing? Or did you think, I think I could be good at the marathon and go into like marathon training? Or was that in your head for further down the road? Like, I'm going to go into the marathon at some point.
I was actually very much a 1500-meter athlete.
Oh, really?
So I was really track focused. I would do the odd 10K in the winter, but never really that quick. The odd 5K as well, but never really that quick. I actually really struggled with the strength side of things. I was kind of found the 1500-meter middle distance work came a lot easier to me back then. And yeah, that was very much where my focus was. It was still in 2018. I was still doing the 1500 meters at British Champs.
Wow.
And I would do kind of indoors 3000 meters during the winter season, as opposed to getting on the cross country. Never really was a big fan of the mud. And yeah, that was really what my main focus was. And the marathon wasn't really on the agenda until quite later in my career. we kind of in Leeds we do these as part of like the England Athletics kind of talent program. You sit down like once a year with your coach or with a point of contact within the talent hub, and you kind of talk through what your progression is going to look like as an athlete, or how you feel like you can improve, what you need from the services that are available. And my coach at the time said, "Yeah, I see you as like a marathon athlete in like."
How did he see that though? Because you said like you struggled with the strength bit, and obviously being a 1500-meter runner, like what indications did he have that he thought you'd be good at the marathon?
I think he saw that I was motivated by mileage, and my 1500-meter times were starting to plateau, but he could just see that I was getting excited by going out and running 20 miles at 6-minute miling. I
Yeah.
was enjoying pushing myself, running 5:30s for 16 miles, like, hard on a Sunday. This is
Is that what you were
pre-carbon.
doing then? Even when you were doing like 1500 meters and stuff like that and 3Ks, you going out on a Sunday and banging out 16 miles at 5:30s?
Yeah, there would be the odd occasion where maybe I'd race poorly on the Saturday or maybe on the Friday. I'd be a bit pissed off, and I would just kind of put the headphones in and just go and smash it along the canal to kind of relieve some steam, and just kind of, yeah, give that a go. And yeah, he kind of looked at that, and he actually said, like, one of the guys that I race with now, Johnny Mellor, he was like, Johnny started as a kind of track athlete, had some pretty good 3Ks indoors, some 1500s, some 5000s, and then stepped up to the marathon for the last kind of 10 years of his career. And that's kind of what my coach kind of saw in me. And he said that he thought that we could go that way. And it was only during kind of COVID that I started to kind of really hit some pretty good long runs kind of out on my own on the York Selby cycle path. Um,
What do you class as a good long run then? Like, so was this in like 2020, so just into the start of COVID? And like, what would have been a good long run back in that time for you?
I was doing maybe, I think I remember one was 18 miles at 5:10 average, and then another is 20 miles at 5:08 average. And that's in a pair of kind of Hoka Carbon X's, which are a pretty good shoe, but they're not anything like we've got nowadays.
Yeah.
And those were the ones where I thought, oh, you know what? Yeah, I need to kind of start stepping up to the marathon. And then, yeah, kind of, it was later that year, 2021, that kind of I debuted at the marathon on my 29th birthday.
What marathon was that then where you debuted at?
It was London Marathon. So it was just after COVID, the first one back that was a mass
Oh,
participation
was that the
race.
laps in the terrible weather where they did it round, like round that like rectangle loop?
No, it was a year after that, back on the
You're
course.
oh, so the proper
Yeah.
course. And what time did you do for your first marathon there?
I ran 2:12:58.
Flipping heck, so straight away when you did that, then you were like sight set on the Olympics then, basically.
I think I knew I could improve. I never really believed that, yeah, the Olympics was possible. I think until I ran 2:10:23 in 2023. That was
And they knocked the qualifying time down, didn't they? Like, from what it was before, so that must have been, like, pretty tough for you because obviously 2:10, any other Olympics, you'd have been a foot in the door, wouldn't you? You know, you'd have been going, but, like, that qualifying time for Paris, like, was it 2:08 low, something like that you needed just to get the standard?
yeah, it was 2:08:10, so it was pretty quick. But when I ran 2:10:23 at London Marathon in 2023, I didn't qualify for the World Championships that year, and kind of Emil kind of said to me, we were training like a few weeks afterwards, and he said, "Well," and obviously take out the shoes that we had and stuff. He was like, "You would have made every other British Olympic marathon team, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be looking at this next one and trying to make that."
Yeah.
And he also kind of said, "It's good that you didn't make the World Championships." Which I think in 2023 were in Budapest that year, because it gives you longer now to kind of reach a new level and really attack that Olympic qualifying time in Valencia later in the year, which I didn't end up getting, but then I did 10 weeks later in Seville.
What was Emil like a big, has he been, like, quite beneficial for you then in your development as a marathon runner because you're both from Leeds, you're both, like, going through it all together? I think you said in your videos you do quite a lot of training with him, even if he's not there for the session. So do you think you both kind of like encourage each other and like bring out the best in each other?
Yeah, hugely. I would say it's more him helping me than me helping him, but I'd like to think I give him a little bit of support as well. But for me, he's yeah, we've been doing it together. He is a sounding board for quite a lot of my ideas. He's also like me, he's obsessed with it. He loves marathon running. He loves understanding the training, tweaking the training, seeing what works best. And he's also kind of a lot of his training was Canova influence before he was coached by Canova. And then since he's been coached by Canova, it's obviously even more so. And like kind of that advice that he gives me and can kind of analyze what I'm doing and help me kind of see the mistakes that I've made as well in the past is being kind of really significant to kind of helping me kind of improve each year.
What kind of mistakes have you made then in the past that you've kind of look at now and you think, oh, not sure why I was doing that. I wouldn't do that again.
Oh, plenty, absolutely loads. Um,
Would it
yeah.
be more like sessions wise or just trying to chase volume too much?
Do you know what? Usually it's probably frequency of sessions is the one that I probably make the mistake on the most. Sometimes you'd be feeling amazing in training. You would, yeah, look at this training. You'd be like, "Oh, I've done great training," and then a week later, you do some rubbish result in a race, and then you look
Yeah.
back at it, and you're like, "Well, I did 4 sessions in 8 days there, and they were all really hard."
Yeah.
So no wonder a week later I was just a bit fried, and I just wasn't able to kind of take things to another level. So I would say, yeah, that's the big one, and just kind of looking back and being able to kind of see what he does in training and the spacing that kind of Canova puts in between his sessions kind of really helps me when I'm doing my planning with my coach and stuff.
So, like, if you were to, with what you've learned so far, if you were to like make up the perfect kind of marathon training week for you, like in terms of like if you were to say like Monday would be an easy day, Tuesday would be like 5K, 10K session or like, threshold session. What would be like the perfect kind of marathon week if you were to briefly um say it now, the kind of thing?
So sessions wise, I would probably look at doing a double threshold session on a Tuesday. So the morning will probably be 5 by 3K off 90 seconds. And that's around marathon effort, maybe just a little bit quicker. So yeah, it's not far off LT1, but it's in between LT1 and LT2. And then the evening would be a little bit quicker. So that might be 12 by K or it might be 25 by 400. And that would be closer to kind of LT2, closer to kind of half marathon effort if it was K reps and paces. I would then probably on a Friday do something pretty marathon specific. So that would be kind of 8 times 2K off 1K float, or it could be 6 times 5K off 1K float. Usually around 30K total volume with large.
Basically, like the sessions that we saw on your YouTube.
Yeah,
If anyone wants to see the kind of session, they can just check out your YouTube video and see the build up to Valencia, and you've got loads of them sessions on there.
yeah, loads of those. And then probably on a Sunday would be like a steady run. So a little bit slower than LT1, might be around kind of 330, 320 per K pace. And probably trying to get that to 32 to 35K, even kind of 40K on the weeks that aren't quite as intense. And just kind of getting like really long time on feet. And then pretty much every other day is just 2 runs and make up the mileage to be about 140 miles in the week.
So on that steady run on a Sunday, if you were to like basically when you're up to like 40K, you'd almost be doing like a 220 marathon, wouldn't you? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, if you'd have carried, you'd get to 40K, and on your faster ones, you're running like 320K pace. If someone was to say to you, I'll just do another 6 minutes or whatever, you'd be basically doing a 220 marathon just as like your steady Sunday run. And then you've got like a double session 2 days later where you're doing like 3Ks and 2Ks. We were saying off air, weren't we, about how a mere mortal tried to do your full week's training, and Mark from GTN attempted it, didn't he? And it absolutely boxed him. Like, if anyone wants to check that out, they should just search for, I don't know, Phil Sesemann GTN or something like that, and it will probably come up. And it's quite funny because he just goes straight into it, doesn't he? No, like, building up to 100 miles a week, just straight into your Olympic marathon, training plan, and it absolutely kills him after, like, 4 days.
No, it was good. He gave it a good go as well, so I quite enjoyed that.
No, that is, yeah, some training week, that is, because, I've seen some of the sessions that you put out on Strava, and you must really struggle to find, like, actual training partners that can keep up on some of them. I mean, if you're doing like 3K reps and you're hitting out like 850s or 840s for them and you're doing 5 of them off 90 seconds, there can't be many people around Leeds that can join you for those sessions.
I'm quite fortunate. I've got my training partner, Vinny Magnusson. He's a 5K runner, like a 13-25K guy based in Hull, but he comes over for those double session days. So he might come over and do 4 reps or 3 reps. So he's perfect for those. And often we're probably closer to 9 minutes, maybe 8:55 at our quickest. So there is quite a few guys in Leeds who can kind of run at that level. There's quite a lot of good athletes around. But yeah, often we are kind of just sat behind the bike and doing it that way with coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Does he
not too bad.
does he have any tunes on to pass the time, or is it just raw dogging it, just staring at each other?
Yeah, it is just stare at each other's back, stare at his back, just watch the wheel go round. Yeah, we don't actually put the tunes on ever. So
Really?
no,
Never?
no.
Come on, mate, they're tough up north, aren't they? Like, we're literally got, like, our favourite songs on, like, for our sessions. Um, you know, in like, looking ahead to the future and to next year, I guess, like, in terms of the marathon and to try and get that time down a bit more, which I'm guessing is your aim. Where what do you think you would need to work on in terms to do that? Would it be like trying to improve your 5K and 10K, and then do you think going into a marathon block would do that? Or is it just simply a case of doing more marathon training and just getting what, because I mean, like, if you get 2 seconds a kilometer quicker at those kind of sessions and you can do the same in the marathon, all of a sudden that takes you to a 2:06 low, doesn't it? You know, in a marathon. So what do you think in your head you'd need to do to kind of not get a big PB, like take it to a low 2:06, 2:05 kind of thing?
Yeah, that's quite a tough question. I'm I've got a few ideas, and definitely kind of the way that we would periodize training, we'll definitely drop down in distance, work on maybe some 5Ks. I might even jump into an indoor race in January, a 3,000 indoors. And I do think that that kind of really helps with running economy and just getting a little bit more efficient with my stride. Um, and then,
Sorry, what you'd say that doing like some 3K races indoors, you think really improves your efficiency, just getting used to running like a fast 3K, that
yeah,
translates well to like more better efficiency at marathon pace.
yeah, I feel like it does. And then also it does kind of help with like the VO2 max and, yeah, I guess maybe just maintaining my VO2 max rather than letting it kind of deteriorate as I'm getting
Yeah.
older. And I guess also I want to get back in the gym. I actually haven't been in a gym since August. So I need to get back in the gym just to kind of improve that running economy and just make sure that I'm not neglecting that. And then we are starting to think about some other ways of just using heat training in order to maybe a little bit more active heat training rather than just passive, which we've been doing at the moment, just to kind of prepare for potentially it being warmer at some of the races next year and just being ready for that, but also kind of looking at those kind of hemoglobin gains. Just at the moment, I'm not doing any altitude camps, and for the foreseeable future, that's going to remain the same. So yeah, just kind of looking at other avenues of kind of getting similar type of gains.
Am I right in thinking that your 5K PB is around 13:20ish, something like that on the track?
I ran 13:29 last summer.
13:29. Do you think that you ideally like to get that around the 13:15, something like that? Would that be ideally what where you'd like to be with that?
I think just dipping it under 13:20 would be pretty nice. I feel like
Yeah.
I got down to 13:19 or so, I'd be pretty proud of that time. I feel maybe if I'd spent a couple more months in the summer trying to really target that, that's something that I would have actually been able to achieve. But just where I was in my training cycle, I only really had kind of a month to devote to
Yeah.
5K training this summer. So I was actually very pleased with kind of the return from that, running as fast as I bet.
Because I feel like you should be able to run a 5K really well, because I remember seeing the other year you did a 3K race indoors, and this was, I think it was just after Jake Whiteman had, like, won the, gold medal at the world champs, and you put him away, didn't you, in the last, like, 400, 600 meters of a 3K. I can't remember if it was a year, it might have not been just after he won the world champs, it might have been the following year, but I remember seeing it, and you've got a decent kick, haven't you? Like, people would think, like, "Oh, marathon running, you know, he's gonna get put away in the last 400 meters," but actually, you can finish a race really strong, can't you? You've probably got the best kick out of any marathon runner out there.
No, I think that was more he was very early in his training cycle. It was the January after he'd won the world championships, I think in the September before. And he was just very early in his training cycle and obviously hadn't done a huge amount of like lactic tolerance stuff yet. And I didn't actually run at that fast last 200. I think he just kind of, yeah, just his legs kind of gave out a little bit too quickly before the line, and I was able to kind of get past him. So yeah, I do have confidence that I could run quicker over like say 5K. But yeah, I just need to kind of find the time to devote and prioritize that in the training.
Yeah, so you'd just basically say you think that you've been in much better 5K shape than your PB suggests, but you just haven't actually done a block and actually raced that many 5Ks when you've been in top shape. So you've probably been well under 13:20 pace numerous times, but just not done it in a race was because the marathon.
No, I wouldn't say I've actually been in shape to do it. I would just say I could be in shape to do it, I think.
If you had longer then to build up,
Yeah.
like if you had, say, 10 weeks of doing 5K training, so you could, or 12 weeks or something like that instead of 4 weeks.
Yeah, if I hadn't done Amsterdam Marathon and Valencia Marathon this year, and the whole focus had been going to Boston in December and run a quick 5,000 indoors, then I do think I could run 13:19 or so. Yeah, I would need to put kind of months down to be able to kind of reach those levels in the 5K, which I just am not able to right now. Yeah, I'm enjoying my marathon running too much. I always just want to have one of those
Yeah.
fairly soon on the horizon.
So is there anything fairly soon on the horizon then that you're like marathon-wise that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think I would like to the European Championships next summer. They're in Birmingham, so yeah, I think at the moment that'll probably be one of the next focuses, and maybe I'll do a marathon before that. But yeah, nothing's been kind of confirmed yet.
Yeah. With your training, how close to the edge do you think you train? And do you think you'd know where that line is that, like, say, if you went over it, you'd probably get an injured or you'd be like mega fatigued? Or do you feel like you know yourself really well that you're like always quite under it? Like, or do you think there is more scope to go where you think now actually looking back, like, actually, you know what, I think I could do a little bit more? Or do you think, oh no, if I did a little bit more, that would be too much?
Well, that's a difficult one. I I definitely push. I definitely feel like there's the odd day where maybe I could be a little bit more of an athlete rather than a plodder, and I could go out and have a little bit more purpose for my easier runs and run those a little bit harder. Or there's some sessions that I feel like I could be better in.
What would that be, Phil, when you say, like, going from, like, a bit more of a plodder to a bit more of an athlete? Would that be like you normally run him, like, if you're plodding, you'd class that as, like, 4:30s K, something like that, and being a bit more of an
Yeah.
athlete with, like, sub 4s or something?
Yeah, sub fours, and I might like I haven't been in the gym since August. I might prioritize making sure I do my gym. I might prioritize doing my hill sprints. Just be a little bit more athletic as opposed to just going out and running mileage and then doing my sessions.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, we kind of with my partner going back to work and my little one starting at nursery back in September. Yeah, we struggled a lot with kind of keeping healthy. And I don't believe I could have done any more than I did kind of in the build up to Valencia. I was
You
pretty much on that line the entire time.
yeah. You know, what was I gonna say? Yeah, when you're training really hard, is there any recovery habits that you kinda, like, swear by? Or and are there any that you think are, like, overrated? Like, you must see some of the stuff that people post on, like, social media, and you think, "Oh my god," like, as if they're thinking that's gonna work, like, and are there any that you absolutely swear by? Like, for me, I think, like, you can't beat sleep. If you, like, have the time and you get a kick like just a 30 or 40-minute power nap during the day. For me, that's like the gold standard. Like you wake up and then you feel so much better for your evening session.
Yeah, well, I mean, 100% sleep is the number one thing. Like when you're feeling a bit under the weather, when you're a bit fatigued, you just want to be maximizing those hours of sleep. Like that's the only true tried and tested recovery aid. I think that is always going to work. The other one is definitely just fueling. So it's just eating well, eating lots. You just want to be. I have a pint of Nesquik, chocolate Nesquik, after every single run.
Do you?
And
What, even like your even the easy runs and stuff like
yeah,
that? That would something so that's something that you swear by, is just basically getting the pint of milk in pretty much.
yeah, whole milk, pint of it, loads of sugar with Nesquik, just poured straight in, and yeah, I would have that after every single run, every session, every run. So that's 14 pints a week of that stuff. So it's quite a lot.
Wow. You feel like you have to be, really strict on your diet with, like, the marathon running, because obviously, like, a couple of kilos heavier and you're gonna run bad, but then obviously you need to make sure you're getting in a lot of carbs, especially for those big sessions, like when you're doing them, like, 30K proper marathon sessions. You can't be doing them on, like, water, can you? You're not gonna go well. So is that, like, would you say that that's, like, something you have to be, like, really on it to be a top marathon runner? You have to be super lean, but then you have to make sure that you're fueling enough so you don't get injured. You've got the energy for the sessions, and that to me seems like something that you really have to nail to do well at.
Yeah, so I'm definitely of the feeling that the more you can train, the better you're going to be. And the only way you can train is if you're fueled and you're really well fueled. Quite proudly, like neither Emil or I have ever had any bone stress injuries. And like we do feel like a big part of that is due to the fact that we fuel well, and we don't restrict anything in our diet. Like is a nice little gingerbread white chocolate cookie ready to go once we stop talking. So yeah, it's just not something that we try to dial in too much. We just make sure that we're getting the nutrients that we need, and we're really focusing on recovery. But the big thing really is making sure that we've got carbohydrate intake. And I remember talking to one of the guys who works for Morton, Josh Rowe, and he was telling me about some work that they'd done with Christian Blumenfeld, and the Norwegian guys, the triathletes. And he was saying that often the way that they view fueling is they calculate how much fuel they can take in, and then they calculate how much training they can do, rather than the other way round, which most athletes would say, okay, well, I do this much training, so I can fuel this. I need to fuel this much for that. They see it as, yeah, we need to get as much fuel in as possible, and then we can work out what's the most amount of training we can do with that.
Yeah,
And I quite like that kind of approach of just basically saying I'm going to do as much as I possibly can. Like if you honestly told me that if I ran 200 miles a week, that would make me run 2.5 next year, like I would do that.
yeah,
So I've got no problem. I would do 300 miles a week if you told me that that was going to give me a 2.5. I'm doing as much as I possibly can to kind of reach my goals. And I think fueling is like a massive part of that.
were you hitting like 250 Ks a week on your biggest weeks in this last, like, marathon block?
Uh, I I train in kilometers by actually counting miles.
Yeah,
So I went to 150 miles. So that's probably, yeah, it's
two
probably
go
250.
240
Yeah,
Ks. That is.
240. Yeah, somewhere around there. So yeah, it was a fair bit of running. Yeah, I was kind of struggling with a bit of sinusitis at that time as well. So that was a pretty rough few weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of on antibiotics and stuff, and yeah, just kind of getting through those weeks. Um,
When when you're doing that then, like, how good do you feel when you turn up to your sessions? Like, do you start off and you do the warm up and you think to yourself, God, I don't know how this is gonna go today. Like, this is gonna be a bit of a slog. But then as soon as it goes and you get into it with your coach, it's like, boom, the gears switched and you're finding that you're hitting the pace and it's never as bad as what you think? Or do you just get so used to it that you start off and you do the warm up and you feel quite fresh and you're like, oh yeah, like, this is gonna be fine. Like, I'm gonna nail this.
yeah, usually you feel pretty fresh, and it's just not too bad. So you condition yourself just to run more and more. And yeah, I do really feel like at the moment. Like I've kind of done that well, and kind of especially coming off the back of like Amsterdam marathon and running a 2:7, I kind of felt that, yeah, my legs actually recovered. I have DOMS for about 2 days, and then they almost feel ready for a session again on day 4. And yeah, I think a lot of that is just down to running high mileage for kind of on. I think my 5-year average is about 105, 106 miles now. So
Really, what, including everything? So all your time, all the time off and everything. So,
yeah,
like, if you went on holiday and you didn't do that much, it was a break, that's still included in the average, and it's, averaging over 100 miles a week.
yeah, yeah, for 5 years.
God, that is some consistency.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've kind of obviously there's some luck in it, but there's also like good decision making and stuff that is kind of enabled me to kind of
And
make
Nest
things
quick.
happen. Yeah.
Get your shares in Nest quick, they're going up. When you do these sessions, you know the ones that you were posting on your YouTube, them marathon ones? Like, when I was watching them, you guys looked really in controlled, and it never looked like you were working that hard. Like, it looked like it was quite cruisy and that you were, like, running way easier than, marathon pace, but obviously that's not the case, and, how does it feel? Because it looks like that you guys, like you, Alex, Emil, like, whenever you see them sessions that you're doing, that you're all so smooth and you don't look like you're working hard. How hard actually are them sessions? You know, for instance, like when you did the 2K, 1K off, and, I think you did another one where you did, like, some 5K reps or something with, like, a K float. Like, what are they tough for you? Like, are you, like, hanging on towards the end, or is it, like, a case of, like, you get to the end and you're like, "That wasn't that bad. I'm really confident that I could easily do another 12K at that."
Yeah, there's a few of them that it slightly varies. We did one that was 12K on, 1K on, 1K off, and we were running kind of 250s, 252s and 310s. That one was really hard. I wasn't enjoying that one at all. I was finding that pretty tough. But the other ones like the 5K on, 1K off, the 30K, we did kind of 2K on, 1K off. They all felt pretty good. And yeah, I really felt like they gave me a lot of confidence of what I'd be able to do. There was one before Amsterdam, which was kind of 3 sets of 8K on, 2K off, and that one felt great. I was really kind of confident after that one. But then I went to a cafe afterwards, and I couldn't really eat. So that
Yeah.
kind of tells you kind of how hard you have actually pushed in that session.
Yeah.
Um, and often it's the days where you feel your best, where you push quite a lot deeper than you realize.
Yeah.
And because you're feeling good, you're able to just keep pushing and keep pushing. And those ones are the ones where you actually have to be quite sensible with your recovery afterwards. Because it's very easy. Like you do a session like that, you feel amazing. You were like, oh, that felt great. It wasn't that hard. And then the temptation is to then push quite soon afterwards and try and get more and get a bit greedy.
Yeah.
And then that's where you then kind of then don't go and run too well in your next race, really.
Yeah. Going back to Amsterdam and Valencia, just because they're, like, pretty fresh, what was the internal dialogue for you in the last 10Ks of them? I mean, from the little chat that we had at the start, you were saying, in Amsterdam, you started off a bit slower, and I think you, like, finished quite strong, didn't you? And in Valencia, from looking at your video, it looked like the last 10K was pretty tough. Was the internal dialogue in the last 10K totally different in those? And what were you thinking, and how did you deal with, the pain at that point?
Yeah, at Amsterdam, the pacemakers kind of reached 10K to go, and then they peeled off, and there was an Eritrean guy in our group who kind of looked pretty strong, and he started pushing, and I just kind of got on the back of him and just sat on him and took a few short turns, but mainly he was doing all the work. So the kind of mindset then was, no, this is a good one. This is a really good one. If you don't cramp up or anything, you're going to run really well here. And I was very much like, there's a chance of a sub 2:7. I think a few of the kilometer markers were slightly out, so that was kind of making me feel that I was a bit closer to that than I actually was. And it was only in like the final 2K when I realized that actually I wasn't kind of on for that, which was, yeah, a little bit frustrating, but yeah, I was still quite pleased with kind of how I was running. I feel like there maybe I could have kind of closed a little bit harder. I kind of maybe not let off the gas, but I was just like quite content with how my run had been. And then maybe I left a few seconds out there on the final kilometre. That would have been, I could have maybe have got, but that was like a really positive run. Whereas the last 10K in Valencia, we were fortunate because Emil Carres was pacing us. So he kind of paced up until 35, 36K. And then it was when he peeled off that the group that I was with, Felix Bohr, Hendrik Pfeiffer, Alex Yee, Phil Montesfu, they started pushing on and I just wasn't quite able to go with them. And if anyone who's ran Valencia knows, kind of last 5 or 6K is slightly downhill. So I was looking down at my watch and I was like, I'm still running well here. I'm running like kind of 258, 259 for this current K. But they just slightly got a gap on me. And there was a few seconds where I thought maybe I might catch them back up. But then I just wasn't quite able to close that gap. And then it kind of compounds the fact that you're running on your own and that kind of fatigue started to settle in a little bit more. And at that point, it was very much like I'm telling myself, no, you're still on for maybe a sub 2.7 if you close well here. And if you're not, then there's still a PB to be shot at. And there was a small bonus in my contract with Valencia to kind of get a PB. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking like, kind of, let's get something from this. Let's really push and stuff. So it used to always annoy me when I was a track runner when you were like having a really good season, and so you'd ran your PB for 1500s earlier in the season, and then you would maybe run your second fastest ever 1500s, but you wouldn't even get a season's best or PB after it. It would just be nothing. So it was like you'd had a bad run. So I had that in my head. Like if I don't run quicker than Amsterdam, there won't be even like SB or anything. It would just be like, oh, that was just a bit of a bad run. So I guess, pretty desperate to try and kind of hold on for that, and was just kind of battling the kind of the mental demons that are trying to tell you to kind of ease up and slow down a bit. So I was very much clock watching at that point, which potentially isn't the best thing to be kind of focusing on, but I did manage to kind of squeeze that PB. So I was quite pleased to still do that.
Did you just get it by like 3 or 4 seconds in the end, something like that?
I think I was 6 seconds under in the end.
Oh, right.
So
So you could see the clock in the last like 300 or 400 meters, and you knew you had it at
yeah,
that point.
well, you don't know when you're that far out, because but I was looking down at my watch, and Valencia, they tell you kind of in the final 1,000 meters, it says 900 to go, 800 to go, 700
Oh,
to
really?
go. Yeah, and
You're doing the maths. 800, I just need to finish in like 2:30 and then I've got it. Like,
no, pretty much, and obviously I know like my splits. I'm trying to run 3-minute Ks, so it's quite easy maths to do, really. 18 seconds at 100, so I'm just like looking over and like, okay, you're still on, just keep going.
What was the reason why Emil didn't finish the race? Because I mean, to go that far and to pace it, like he would have probably been on for a PB himself, wouldn't he? Like if he'd have cracked on, like how come he didn't do that?
Yeah, I think people kind of forget, like um, Emil's like on a few levels above. Like he's not.
Is he really? Because in the training though, when you did the session that you posted up, you all look just as good as each other, but you think like from your experience of running with him, you feel like he's a few levels up in the marathon then.
Yeah, I think what you have to remember there is he was only on about week 4 or 5 of training after coming back from a break, and we're the fittest we're ever going to be ahead of marathons. And he also kind of every time it was his turn on the front, the split was just a few seconds quicker, even if it was just a couple. He was there in a bobble out and a long sleeve, just chilling.
Yeah.
So Emil is I've trained with Emil for years, and uh, we I when he's fit, I can't train with him. Like his level is
What's
too
like
high.
something that he's done then when you've been on a session with him and he's been absolutely flying? Like, what is a session that you've seen him do where you were like, oh my God, like that is impressive?
I've seen him do kind of 12K tempos and go through in like 28:50 for 10K, and then
Yeah.
come back and do another session that evening. And I've seen him just go out and it's just like the ease that he's doing these sessions with.
What, he just looks like he's not smashing it. It's like he's working at the right intensity that he should be, but the splits are just like very impressive. And you're like, wow, that's
Yeah.
good.
Before the Olympics, when we were in Sestriere in the Italian Alps, we were training with Yamano Crippa, who just won the European Championships at half marathon. And we're doing this session where we do kind of a 7K steady warm up uphill, 3.5K uphill, 3.5K back down. And then we do a track session, and we did a double day. So we did it in the morning, and then in the evening, we're doing it. And we're going up this hill, and it's really, really steep. Like, the guys on the bikes are having to like almost get off and walk. And we're just running up this hill, and you can hear everyone stops talking because, well, this is pretty steep and we're at altitude. And you can start hearing everyone's breath, and I'm like pretty out of breath already. The other guys, even Cripper's, like pretty out of breath. And you just like look over to Emil, and like he's just not breathing. And you're just like, it's just ridiculous. And then obviously he came fourth at the Olympics straight after that. So he clearly was just in ridiculous shape. But yeah, I think on that camp, we did like 6x5K, and they were running kind of 14:45 off 5 minutes recovery. And his lactate was like 1.
Really? I think I saw that was there a YouTube video?
Yeah.
A film from before that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I honestly, when they were saying it, I thought it was a joke. I thought they were just like, oh, he's only 1 or something. I thought it was just like, they were just having a laugh, but it actually was just 1.
If he was in that form, what he was before the Olympics, say at Valencia, and he went for a time and he went like full gas, feeling good, what do you think he done? Like, would he have been like around 2:04 or something, or are you like thinking maybe even quicker?
Yeah, I would expect he would be like running around those times. There's something. Yeah, you have to like not disrespect the people who have run those times. Like, he has to still go and do it. And you can't just say he can do this without him actually having done it. But I do just generally believe like Emil, he's going to take kind of the British record, I expect, to kind of new levels, and he's going to be really competitive for the next few years on a global stage, which he's already shown he can be. And I think, with Valencia, he was there to kind of do a pacing job and help me and Alex, but help us as much as he could, which he did. And he just had to balance that with trying to get back into training afterwards so that he could kind of attack his own goals in the new year.
It's a fucking hell of a training session, isn't it? Because you've basically done pretty much a marathon, didn't you? He's only run like 15 minutes less than what he would have done if he did the whole marathon.
Yeah, but that 15 minutes does make a big difference in terms of the recovery and stuff. Yeah, it definitely does. Like it's all exponential. Like the last 2K are a lot more taxing than the middle Ks, and those are more taxing than the early Ks, of course.
Because you're right on the limit in that last 5K, and that's where you're like pushing that red line and just holding it there, and you're trying not to blow up. As if you 36, you're like stopping just as it's getting quite hard. You're like, that's it, I'm stopping.
Yeah, exactly. That's where like the muscular kind of damage is really being done. When your muscles are already really damaged, and you're then kind of making them run even faster or even harder. So I think, he was obviously sensible there to kind of stop there, and he balanced that with helping us as much as he could.
From your experience, Phil, of like obviously being in Leeds, you said there's loads of good runners, and you've been around the sport for quite some time. You've trained with loads of elite athletes and everything. What do you think separates runners that make it from those that don't make it? Like what traits do you see in the ones that are like the top guys? And what do you see that some guys that are good, but they don't quite make it? Where do you think they're mostly lacking?
I think obviously there's going to be like talent's going to come into it massively. But for the guys who aren't super, super talented, I would guess it's like an absolute love of sport and just loving being out running and enjoying the process of it. I think the people who are far too obsessed with the result, the outcome, trying to get a contract, they're the ones who are going to struggle or do struggle in the long term, mainly because it's a hard sport. Like, there's no guarantee of success. You can try as hard as you want. You can get injured. You can have poor runs, and it's the people who kind of have these runs or get the injuries and throw the toys out the pram they're the ones who are going to struggle to really see like gradual progression. And then I guess just having good patience as well. It does take time, but if you've got time, then and you train consistently, you train well, you will improve. So yeah, I would just say for people, it's the ones who need the results are the ones who are going to kind of struggle to get them. It's the ones who kind of just want them and just want to enjoy their running are going to see kind of the long term progression.
Do you feel like then when you train with a lot of these people that, like, say, for instance, like you were in Sestriere and you were training with that group before the Olympics, did everyone there seem like they absolutely loved it? You know, like they'd turn up and everyone's absolutely buzzing. So it was like really good to be a part of it. Like, you know, you all felt like you were having a laugh and enjoying it, and you just kind of all, it kind of brought out the best in all of you.
Yeah, I think we were all enjoying it a lot there. I think that was maybe slightly different because it was like a pre-Olympic camp. So there's just
Yeah.
like a slightly higher level of stress. I would say when I've been to like Font Romeu and Kenya, people are a little bit more chilled out. But I think
Yeah.
just like pre-Olympics, everyone's kind of like hyper analyzing everything, especially when you've got guys like Emil and Cripper who want to be pretty competitive at the front end. And there's just like a bit more um, pressure and a bit more eyes on kind of what we're doing there and stuff. So we are all kind of a little bit more stressed, really.
What was your experience like from the Paris Olympics? Like from the point of when you went to like the Olympic Village from that point on and the marathon, like if you were to talk me through it, did you enjoy it? Like, did you settle in there or was it kind of all a bit like alien and because you weren't in your own environment, it made it worse?
Yeah, I loved it. It was really good. It was like an amazing experience, a bit like a toy town kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a bit surreal that you're there. For me, I didn't travel out until the Wednesday before the marathon, and the marathon was on the Saturday. And
Yeah.
the marathon was right at the end of the 2 weeks. So I was at home for 10 days watching the Olympics, like knowing that that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a weird situation. And then when you finally got out there, obviously it was amazing. It was wicked. It was beautiful summer. And then kind of doing the race, like there was kind of a lot of hype. I feel like I slightly underperformed in what I kind of hoped to do. And there was probably quite a few athletes around my level who kind of did the same. So it did make like the final 10K like pretty hard work and pretty, to be honest, quite unenjoyable. Uh, it was a little bit of a weird feeling when I was kind of taking my shoes off afterwards, kind of sat in the tent, and part of me was sat there thinking, "Do I want to keep doing this? Like that wasn't that fun." Um,
Yeah.
but you're very, very fresh in your mind, thinking about the pain that you were just in and what that kind of felt like. But yeah, overall, it was like a really, really positive experience. And yeah, something that I want to, I only want to go again if I can be better. I don't want to just
Yeah.
kind of go again for the t-shirt. And
Yeah.
that.
Where did it start to feel really hard when you were in in the Olympics then? Because I remember watching it, and did they start off like quite slow, and then it got to the hills, and then the hills were pretty big, weren't they? In terms of like what most people are used to from marathon, like because if you do the majors, you don't normally get hills like that, I don't think, do you? And
Yeah.
they like absolutely bang it up the hills, and that was kind of what blew the race apart. Is that where you kind of felt it as soon as you hit the hill, and you were like, "Oh God," like because it was boiling hot as well, wasn't it? It wasn't it was pretty warm.
Yeah, it was pretty warm. It did start early, and we were quite lucky because there was a lot of shade, especially for the first 10K, 15K.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was just definitely kind of once we got to the hills or just before that, kind of a couple moves went, and I kind of made the decision just to hold off kind of my effort at the time. And quite a lot of the guys that around my level were kind of doing the same. So there was definitely just you were never gonna like run through the field. I don't think. I think that my thinking before the race was like if I run a sensible race, I might run through everyone and
Yeah.
I would have a really good positive run. But I don't think anyone really did that.
Yeah.
Like one or two guys maybe picked up 10 spots in the final 10K, but the time differences weren't huge because it's still relatively deep around that level. So a few
Yeah.
people kind of picked up, but no one was running through from 45th and coming 15th.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of just wasn't happening, and I think that really was just like a lack of fitness. And kind of in hindsight, I probably wouldn't go to like a training camp like I did in Sestriere beforehand.
Yeah.
And I would just stay in Leeds and just prepare at home.
Do you just love training on that canal?
Yeah, I really like it. Like I'm even before I had a little one, I would get quite homesick on camps.
Yeah.
I just really like being at home. I like having my partner supporting me. I like my dogs. I like running with them. I've got friends that I run with every day. I like going out with them. My coach is there. He helps me on the bike. I get good quality sessions out whenever I want to. Where when I'm on altitude camps, I'm very reliant on training partners. And when you're going away with three guys who've all got European medals, who have all done a lot more training at altitude than you have, um, I was pretty much running solo or just getting backdoored in most sessions.
Yeah.
And it just made it very hard to kind of really hit the quality that I would actually be able to hit at home.
Yeah.
And then there was like quite a lot of travel with it. And yeah, I think in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best thing for me. But you don't know that at the time. And you do that because you think that this is going to be the best thing to kind of help you reach that kind of next level.
Yeah. Totally. What would you say has been the proudest moment of your career so far?
It probably was running that Olympic qualifying time at Seville Marathon back in
Yeah.
2024. Yeah, that was really special. I kind of dreamt of kind of going to the Olympics. It was just like this idea of I never really believed I was kind of good enough. I always felt I was kind of the level where I could get an England vest. I could maybe squeeze like a GB vest at one of like the lower level competitions, maybe
Yeah.
European level. But the Olympics is like the top three guys every 4 years. So um, it's the one that everyone wants to go to. It's the one that everyone works towards. And I just didn't think that that was kind of my level and within my remit. But yeah, running that time and kind of coming back after not doing it at Valencia and then just
Yeah.
getting it by a couple of seconds, or by 6 seconds in the end in Seville was really, really special.
If you had have run, say, 2:08:11, would it have been as cutthroat as you wouldn't have gone? Because they technically could have still picked you, but do you think they would have said, "No, sorry, you didn't run the qualifying time, you're not going"? Like, was it literally that cut and dry?
Yeah, it was that kind of dry. Yeah, there's no way they would have
Wow.
picked me. Uh,
Wow. So it literally came down to that last K, you're looking at your watch thinking, "Fucking hell, like, this is gonna be tight." Like, because the Garmins are always wrong, aren't they, in the marathon? So you don't actually know you don't know if you're a couple of seconds over or a couple of seconds under, I guess, until you can literally see that banner, and then, you must have been, like, running for your life.
I literally was. That was a really tough few K because I really thought I was missing it, and I was looking down at my watch because I always have my elapsed time on as well, so I can see that, and I'm going through 41K, I'm going through 40K, and I'm looking at the splits, and I'm thinking, I think I'm going to miss this by a couple seconds. And you always think back to a race, and you always think, oh, I could have just tried a little bit harder, or I could
Yeah.
have just done this little bit more. And that's the only race where I really, really, you could have told me I would have won £1 billion if I'd ran a second quicker, and I wouldn't have ran a second quicker. I just could not.
You just felt because you got to that last 2K and you were like, "I need to give this everything, otherwise," because if you'd have missed it by a second, that would have been so fucking horrible, wouldn't it? Mentally, like,
Yeah.
the regret you had, and you'd have been kicking yourself, wouldn't you? You
I
know?
I was having visions of sitting on the sofa in August when the Olympics was on and just watching the marathon like this. And I was like, just don't be that guy. Like, not by a second. Like, so just go for it, absolutely everything. And yeah, that was definitely the proudest moment of my career, I think.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome moment. I mean, to get the qualifying time for the Olympics and then to be selected, that's an amazing achievement. You said after Paris that obviously, like, you weren't in the heat of the moment. You obviously did it and you were like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this again," kind of thing. And that's obviously like everyone gets that after races where they haven't gone to plan. But has there actually ever been a moment where you have actually contemplated stepping away from elite sport and focusing on a career, or like in the early days, did you think like, is it worth it? Like, am I going to make it? Like, has that ever crossed your mind, or has it always been like you've been so set in your ways that you knew exactly what you wanted to do?
I've just always loved running, so I always knew that even if it wasn't gonna be a career for me, which I'm fortunate it has become, I was always gonna be running seriously. I was always gonna be pushing myself and seeing what I could achieve. I just love doing it, being out with the dogs, being out with my mates, and just seeing what I could do. Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'll be doing this.
Yeah. You were working as a doctor, weren't you, for a bit, like locuming at the start of your career?
Yeah, I was a F1, F2. I spent 4 years doing those, working those part time, and then I did 2 years of kind of quite sparse locoming just at the start of my marathon career.
Did you find that it made a big difference to your training when you went fully, like, when you weren't locuming and you were able to fully concentrate on it, or was it not too bad because it was one day a week or 2 days a week?
I wasn't doing that much locoming, so it'd probably be like one every 2 weeks almost.
Yeah.
So it didn't make a huge difference and affect me too much. I was able to kind of go on camps as and when I wanted, but I guess now I'm not even doing the camps. So yeah, I think it wouldn't be too bad doing it. But it's just nice having my full focus is running as fast as possible.
Yeah. And it all adds up, doesn't it? Especially when you're looking for the extras and the extra energy to do more. Like, that's gonna impact, like, how it might only stop you from doing like 5 or 6Ks or 10Ks a week, just from that little bit of extra tiredness. But it all adds up, doesn't it, when you're looking at small margins and looking at how you can improve. And
Yeah,
obviously, like you said, like, you've been running like 240Ks a week, and like in your next block, I guess, like, even if you could keep the same volume, the same sessions, but then add 2 strength sessions a week, that could be a huge gain, couldn't it? Without actually doing any more running, but you just need the energy, don't you, to be able to do it, you know?
exactly. Yeah, and just the mental kind of relaxation that just comes from just knowing like this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to do this week is just run faster and be a better athlete and not have this other thing in the back of my mind. Like I need to be doing this or I need to be keeping up with that. And yeah, it helps massively.
I've got a couple of last questions, Phil, because I'm conscious I don't want to take too much of your time. And one of them is, what excites you about like looking forward in your running career? Like, what goals motivate you? And are there any specific times or championships or races that you look at and you think, I really want to try and win that, or podium there, or I really would love to get this time? Like, what is the biggest driving forces in terms of performance for the rest of your career that you'd love to look back and achieve?
I think I can just run faster. Like I really
Like, what do you want to get? Like, what would you like think if I could just nail the training and I do everything perfect? Like, what do you think? Where do you think you could do?
I I don't think I'm too far away from being able to run like a high 2.5.
Yeah,
I do feel like on really good conditions, really good race, really good pacing, another one or two blocks, like that's something that could happen.
yeah,
And I guess, yeah, for me, I really do kind of have confidence in the training that I'm doing and the training that we do in Leeds that I kind of see a path for me to kind of reach even faster.
yeah,
Yeah, I can just feel that the body is like responding to the training now and
yeah.
really kind of is getting faster. So, yeah, that's kind of the main motivator and the thing that excites me the most is just really seeing how fast I can be.
I mean, when you break it down, mate, you're only two seconds a K, and you're a 2:05 high runner, aren't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
2 seconds a K, when you think about it like that, doesn't sound that much. I mean, obviously, like, doing it is a lot harder, but it's not like you're talking about getting 10 seconds a K, is it? You know, like, it's definitely doable. And when you look at the chunks that you've taken off, where you went from 2:12, 2:10, then you dropped 2 minutes, went 2:08, and then to back 2:07 lows, definitely looks like you're capable of doing that, I think, anyway, from the outside looking in. And then the final question I've got for you, or actually, no, I do have one more after that, actually, as well. So, if you could give one piece of advice to a runner who's training for their first marathon, or to a young athlete, even if they're like, wanting to pursue running, what bit of advice would you give to someone?
just make sure you're enjoying it. Make sure that you're having fun with the training that you're doing, and then also like keep yourself accountable. Like do the training. If you don't want to do it, like, don't give yourself an out. Don't give yourself easy excuses. Like, it comes down to whether you want to do it or not. And uh, yeah, you're the one who's kind of got to sit in a pub in 60 years' time and tell people I could have done this, or I could have done that, or I did do this, or I did do that.
So you'd say just do it, do what you can, basically. Like, don't give up. Like, follow your dreams, and at least say that you kind of gave it your all when you look back in 50, 60 years time.
Yeah, that's the way I always look at it. Like, just do the training. Yeah, get out and
Yeah.
like have fun with it and do the training.
And finally, this is definitely the final question: who is the toughest competitor that you've ever raced against?
Oh, toughest competitor.
Someone that you always seem like you've ended up in a lot of battles with, and you know that if you run next to them, and it's you and them side by side, that it's going to be like mentally, it's going to be flipping tough because you're both like on a similar physical level. So like,
I've had some good races with Samuel Barata, Portuguese fella, over the years.
yeah,
And Robin Hendricks as well, the Belgian fellow. He got a medal at European Cross a few years ago, and yeah, he beat me at a 5K a year ago. He beat me Valencia 10K January. He beat me Brasov Copenhagen half marathon in September, and then Brasov 10K in October. So he was 4-0 up, and then I beat him at Valencia marathon at the big one.
you always seem like you're in the same groups with him then in a race.
Yeah.
And you cross and you see him and you think, here we go again.
Well, I just think, oh, for God's sake, he's beat me 4 times in a row. So yeah, we've got to beat him this time. But yeah, definitely him.
You're on the comeback, mate, like Norwich City, aren't you? You brought it back to 4-1. All right, cheers, Phil. Thanks for your time. That was a great episode, and yeah, really appreciate it, mate. And best of luck for this winter, and have a good Christmas. And looking forward to see you on the start line of some more races in the new year.
Nice one, Joe. Appreciate it.